Suffer now and live the rest of your life as a champion. This quote was said by the famous boxer Muhammad Ali. For years, this quote has been used to motivate athletes in the gym to become more like their athletic idols, like Muhammad Ali. But being a champion isn't necessarily getting the big trophy or even a heavyweight belt to show for it. Being a champion could be the everyday hardships that you have to overcome to reach your end goal. For everyone, it is very different. For me, I feel like a champion every single day in my sport. It could be either sports or academics. It could be if you get a certain grade or if you max out on a certain rep that you wanted to complete. But for me, I get this champion feeling in my sport, volleyball. As you can see in this picture, this is me and my teammates. We are very happy and we feel a lot of passion for the sport that we love. And this is where we feel that we are being champions. As an athlete, you have those days where you make the winning shot, or you get the winning ace, or you win that game you weren't necessarily confident in winning. But not every single day is like this. Some of those days you have a lot of obstacles and hardships that you have to overcome. Maybe you go to practice and your coach says, get on the line, you have conditioning. Or you have a certain move that you quite cannot get down. Those are the different hardships that you have to overcome. And sometimes in those days, you can think to yourself, I don't see me getting to my goal. I don't trust the process. And that's why you realize, then why is it worth it? Days like this is why it's worth it. This is very similar to the transfer process that I've had experienced. And a lot of my peers have experienced this as well in transfers all over the globe. A lot of financial, social, and academic hardships make it very difficult for transfers during the process. During the transfer process, a lot of students have experienced these obstacles and thought, I don't see the end goal. I don't see that this process is going to get me anywhere. But then you have to realize, why is it worth it? You have to find those things that motivate you every single day to overcome adversity. In days like this, and being able to sit in this classroom and graduate from college is why it's worth it. One of the many hardships that transfer students have faced are financial hardships. This could be for many reasons, especially for tuition change. For example, geological changes in location due to transferring can cause a major spike in scholarships or in tuition as well. For example, if you are moving at a certain city or a certain state, in-state tuition could have been cheaper and out-of-state tuition could definitely cause a spike. And geographical location change can also make local scholarships be removed from your financial package. Scholarship adjustments, for example, if you have a certain GPA, it could not have the same standards at another school, and you could see a major drop in merit scholarships or dean scholarships or any type of academic scholarships. And housing situations can be very much changed during this transition. For example, there is a large trend of 2-year institutions having a lot of transfers go to 4-year institutions. A lot of community colleges that are 2 years do not offer housing, and when they transfer to a 4-year institution, you can see a huge spike in the housing, board, and meal plans due to that big change. Another big obstacle that students have to face are the academic part. For example, as you go from school to school, depending if it's from public to private or vice versa, or just any different school in general, you can see a big change in values in their curriculum. So when you go to another school, for example, if you go to a private school, like, for example, Geneva College in Pennsylvania, their biggest value is their religion. So they have different requirements for religion courses and different graduation requirements of going to chapel and church. You will probably not see that in different public schools, so that could be a big change in that transition. Another academic obstacle that many people have experienced is the credit transfer system. This is the transferability of your credits from one school to the other. A lot of students see that they have to take duplicative classes or classes that are very similar to ones I've taken in the past because different syllabi have not been compared enough and had many similarities that cause you to test out of this certain class. And for example, a student at Cleveland State University, Olivia Vanessa Matthews, had issued a report about the local transfer students in her school that they have realized that a regular bachelor degree takes around 4 years, maybe 5 years to complete, but the usual course is around 4 years or sooner. But different transfer students have been catching themselves up to 5, 6 years, and their timeline had been so expanded due to these transferability issues. A big sector of a student's life that a lot of people tend to overlook when it comes to hardships is the social aspect of transferring. For example, there is a lot of issues that transfer students have to face that could actually come back around and affect academics and financials as well. For example, being in a new community as a transfer student can be a huge adjustment from one area of the United States to the other, or even from the next city of the other. There is a lot of different community values that these students have to pick up. New teammates, for a lot of athletes, you can see yourself meeting new people, surrounding yourself with new people, and you grow in the environment around you. So if you come from a team that comes from lots of motivation and lots of encouragement to a team that does not value those things and have more of a tension-filled environment, that can cause a big drop in mental health, of course. Different resources from the school and the area, for example, a lot of transfer students have to adjust to different health resources and mental health resources and academic resources as well. It's very hard to network when you first get to a new place. That social network is very hard when you're an older student entering a non-traditional student because it is hard to branch out, especially if you are put into classes that are duplicative, because you can see yourself in classes with younger people that you do not know as well, so you could be separated from your friends, and that could actually drive a big wedge in expanding your social network. And this is where we come back to the problem with transferability. Transferability does affect financial, social, and academic obstacles. All three parts of the sectors would benefit from a change in the transferability system. For example, like I said, sitting next to people that are younger age and everything, that could definitely impact your learning situation as well. As you can see on this graph, this is the outcomes of students who transferred from a 2-year institution to a 4-year institution. As you can see here in these 3 bar graphs to the left, got these 12% sitting on the top of the blue. This was the range of 2005 to 2008. This was actually the amount of students that came from a 2-year institution to a 4-year institution and found themselves still reaching for that bachelor's degree after 4 years after they transferred. That could be added up to a total of 6 years for an undergraduate program. Usually those programs last around 4 years. As you can see here, that students from 2 to 4 transfers with their associates tend to be more on a path that is already set due to their associate's degree already being in place. For example, Mount Union does accommodate to students that do have their associate's degree that transfer here. They are not required to do the walk portfolio, and they are not required to do certain integrative core classes. And I believe that is a great integration into our curriculum because that really helps transfer students get sent on their way and graduate on time. And you can see over here that these 14%, 8%, 12%, These are all students in different situations that have the same result of taking up to 6 years to complete their bachelor's degree. This can definitely affect social obstacles, financial hardships, and of course, academics. As the trend grows, what can we do? And when I say we, I'm talking about different institutions that have a large amount of transfer students. So I think a lot of different things that these schools can do is adjust transferability. If they have different policies and are open to more classes coming in, then it would definitely benefit their students. Accept similar courses. So I think there should be, like they are in California, they are making more universal classes. So different science, math, business classes all have similar titles. So transferring was a lot easier in getting your classes accepted. Transfer groups, I think it's very important for transfer students to open up that social network. And they could do that through different clubs and games and classes like a seminar class. More transfer scholarships. I think that alumni and schools should have more funding towards transfer students. And I believe there should be no living on campus degree for your first year. So for a lot of different schools, they require transfer students and even freshmen to live on campus their first year. It definitely causes a spike in tuition and housing and board, and this can be financially devastating for some families. In conclusion, through different efforts of awareness and research and different levels of funding that could come from alumni and the school itself, that using all of these tools would actually benefit the school in the long run. Producing students that are more successful and happier causes a reputation to be a positive one and actually helps the transfer population more to that school in the future. So I believe that with these implications, you can be able to overcome these hardships much easier, and then maybe during the transfer process, you can see the process working, and it would be less stressful for everyone involved. As you can see in these two pictures, they're in two different settings. But the one thing that these two pictures have in common is the passion, the happiness, and the overcoming of obstacles. And the one thing that these pictures do have in common with the players and the students that are graduating, they overcame those hardships, they trusted the process, and now they feel like champions. Thank you. And here are some of my sources I used for my presentation.